Hi everyone. So today I am reviewing these gauntlets. I got these gauntlets a little over a year ago and I have used them heavily. They're from Trinity Arms and they're the Warlords version 4 Mach 4 style. Originally these had a really nice brown oil tint to them, but from all my cleaning and not really paying attention and taking care of that, it's gone. These are bell cuff gauntlets. There are also Wisby style gauntlets, which is more like a brigandine on this part. But this bell cuff I got because I wanted a little more protection and I just like the way they look better. These were posted as 16 gauge hardened steel. It has a good thumb guard on it right here, and the thumb piece is held on with a rivet. Makes for really good flexibility with your thumb. I really like it a lot. I've added a couple straps in, which aren't in right now, but you can, there's a hole here and here for a strap to go across the thumb, right there. And then there was another one. No, there wasn't. This used to be a strap though. And then I also had, it's not on this glove that I put in here, but on this part there was a little hole with a lanyard that would go into my fan brace strap, because I had a lot of issues with these coming off. I've also added some concussion foam between the glove and the gauntlet in here to help with some of the impact when you're getting hit or throwing a punch or something like that. I'm honestly not sure if there's an exact date range for these, but they match styles that are 14th, 15th century gauntlets. So these gauntlets were initially very tough. I initially had zero issues with them, besides them coming off, which is why I noted a little piece with the lanyard on them. I also had some problems getting hit on the side, especially right here. That really hurts pretty bad. I went through a lot of fights at the Texas Renaissance Festival. It was 4 fights a weekend for almost 9 straight weekends. There were a couple inclement weather weekends where we didn't fight on that day. But these held up through the whole thing, besides just now noting this hit on the sides. I really like the look of these gauntlets too. These little knuckle things here, you know, they remind me of like little meat hands.
I love it. I love my little naughty pet. You're naughty.
So the glove that originally came in with these it's like a biker's glove. It wasn't a mitten though, like a lot of other people sew in. They actually had individual fingers. The original ones did too. These are not the original gloves. The original ones though, they did have individual fingers, and it felt really nice. It was really comfortable. The best part about getting these gauntlets was the seller, Trinity Arms, is local, and if you're in the US, it's local, and that's really nice. I didn't really have to wait very long for it at all, and the communication with Trinity Arms was the best I think I've ever had with anything. There was an issue with shipping where he had to locate these actually, and instead of just getting a message or anything else, he actually called me and let me know, what was going on, what he was doing, when he shipped it, and everything else too. It wasn't just, oh, I'm figuring it out, and eventually a picture like we get a lot of the times with this stuff, even in the US, or nothing even in the US. We just, oh, it's shipped 4 days later. So when I first got these, the first problem was that some of the stitching was already undone in them. Right here, you see this black piece stitches into the glove, and that's what holds the thumb into this thumb piece. And that was already off. There was also a little bit of off color back when it still looked brown oiled, and it looked like, it may have just been testing, but it looked like it had been used at least a little bit. Nothing major, but there was some stitching undone I had to do right when I got it, and that just sucks because I bought these new, not used. So right when you get them and you have to already fix them, that wasn't cool. Another issue is just the gauntlets themselves. Just to note again, I had a lot of fights, so over 100 fights, right? 9 weekends, 4. No, it's like 36 fights. Well, it was 4. Hold on,
6.5 hours later.
So another thing I didn't like about these gauntlets is just kind of the way they are on the sides and stuff. Just to reiterate, I had a lot of fights. I think it was actually 6 fights a weekend. I said 4 earlier. So that's 50 fights easy, minus the little bit we missed from weather. And on top of that, I also had practice with 2 different teams before that. It was a lot of fights with these from April to into September. Was 2 team practices, not every week, but pretty close to. And then anyway, so it started making holes on the sides right here, and in the thumb area over here. And that really hurts when you get stung. I mean, this glove that was originally in there wasn't super thick, but it was still better than getting skin shot. And that glove wore down really quick. It's basically what happened. And then on the thumb here, what it would start doing is digging into my skin right there as I bent the thumb. And that really hurts. So I'd get hit so hard sometimes right in this area that it would just kind of sting my hand and I would drop the weapon. Really annoying. Really, really, really annoying. Another issue, which from my experience is actually pretty common with gauntlets, but it's annoying, maybe armors, you can fix this somehow, is the overlap in this area. So not somehow, just enough force and this will either bend out or this part will bend out. And it will overlap on top of this like it's not supposed to. A lot of the time you can just smack them together or smack it on the list and it'll go back in place, maybe use your weapon. But it started getting to a point where I actually had to get one of those pliers and pull it up or get a hammer, go off to the side, get a hammer and do that. And again, it's pretty common with my other gauntlets that I have also do this. It just seems to be what happens. But maybe there's a way you can fix it, armors. Also, one thing to note is during my fights at the Texas Renaissance Festival, in between the fights, we measured the steel, and it actually looks like it's more like 20 gauge steel. That is measuring, along the edges, which isn't always accurate. So I'm not going to sit here and say this isn't 16 gauge steel, it's 20. But from what we could see and everywhere we could look, we measured 20. So it might be a little thinner than I actually expected when I bought it. So overall, I mean, they just kind of started falling apart. The glove had holes all up and down here, all through the thumb, and I was just putting electrical tape on it at some point because I really didn't want to replace it. And this is the reason why, because you have to pop out all these rivets too, because this was failing. This is actually the old glove that I cut and riveted back in here to sew this in. These were failing, ripping apart. There was nothing left almost. And this was in like a 3-month span with a lot of fights, but in a 3-month span. That's why I paracord here, because I actually ran out of rivets when I was doing it. The glove was ripping apart. So it was a pretty poor quality glove. The thumb kept ripping out too, and I actually had to put holes in here and put like this little brass thing to help keep it in place because it kept coming out. These rivets right here busted open too. And this was during the fights at Renaissance. I didn't even actually notice it, but it completely separated and just broke apart all the way. So it was a pain in the butt, but it's not completely abnormal, especially when you're talking like 50-ish fights in 9 weeks. That's a lot of fights, and that's a lot on your gear, and that's what's expected when we do this show. So it's not that these are just horrible crap. It's just that they did, in fact, fall apart doing a lot of stuff, for sure. All in all, they were worth it. The price is good. It's in the U.S., so it's local to me. And it lasted about a year. I think I paid $450 for these. They were on sale. They're usually $550, at least at the time. The communication is great, and the owner is a great guy. He's really nice. I'm hesitant to say some bad things, here and there, but there were some bad things with these gauntlets, just the way it is, and that's why I do these reviews. So, but he's a great guy, and he runs his business in a great way. And like I said, for the price, these served a year through some rough fights, including laying in the mud, fighting in the rain, all kinds of stuff. So I, however, will probably look elsewhere for my next set of gauntlets. But it's not necessarily because of how these did. I'm expecting to pay more to get a little more out of the gauntlets. That is the way this works most of the time. It's the way anything works at all. Anything, anywhere, typically, not always. You're going to pay more to get something better. So I wanted something where it covers a little more protection on the side, just a little bit. And honestly, I kind of like the long cuff look. So my teammates have had similar issues with the same gauntlets. And it was also the version 4, and one got sent the 5th version, Mach 5 or version 5 or whatever it's called. And it, again, had wear and tear real quick at the same festival. Again, so a lot of fights, but they wore down pretty quickly, and they had all the same issues that I know of. So there's also some teammates that really haven't had these issues with the same kind again. So it's kind of a give and take, just like anything else. You get a bad car, it's a lemon sometimes, right? But this could be the same issue because I've seen these Warlord gauntlets better with other people. However, in my experience, I'm not going to get these again. So let me know, what common issues do you have with your gauntlets, or did I not bring up, or that I did bring up? What issues or good things have you had dealing with armors, Trinity arms, a different person? Comment below and let me know. You're helping spread information for the sport and giving people information. Also, if anybody knows the history on when I do these things, please comment below, because I really don't study that history that well. I know some things because I have to know some things. But if you can elaborate on, you know, what these are, where they're from, and everything else, that would be awesome. And it would help out everybody else understand and learn something new, right? So remember to comment, like, subscribe, because there's only like 24% of you subscribe. It helps the channel, and the more you hit that like button, the more you comment, the more it helps get this information out about all the armors and weapon reviews I do, as well as any other information. So it's not just, you know, helping this channel out, which it does, and I appreciate that, but it's also helping get information about the sport out. Help get information about the sport out there. So anyways, thanks y'all, and until next time.